Okay, so in this video, I'm doing the last video of part 2 of Econ 102. Okay, so the foreign exchange market. So before we go into it, what's in a foreign exchange market? So when you have a currency such as a rand and then you have another currency such as a dollar, you need some sort of market to exchange these monies, right? Because at the end of the day, a rand is not equal to a dollar is not equal to a rand. So there must be some transaction place where you can do it. And this is called the foreign exchange market. Now, a foreign currency is a currency that is not in your country. So, like a dollar, um, a pound, all that is not rand. So, obviously, it's a foreign currency. Now, trading currency, the currency of one country is exchanged for another currency. So, when you're trading currencies, you're basically taking like a rand and then paying it in the foreign exchange market, and you basically, get a dollar. Now, exchange rate. An exchange rate is a price at which one country exchange for another country currency in a foreign exchange market, right? So the exchange rate, for example, a dollar now is about 19 rand. That means you have to pay 19 rand for $1. Now, a strengthening of the exchange rate is called appreciation, right? So, a strengthening, always think of something good, it's called appreciation. When it goes down, right, when the weakening of the exchange rate, it's called depreciation, right? Now, the demand of money is a supply of another money. So, now what this means? So, I want you to picture two markets, right? One market over here, one market over there. So basically, if you buy that dollar, for example, that dollar receives your money and that dollar goes to you. If you over here, for example, you will get that money of the dollar when the dollar pays for the rands. But basically, it's a okay. Let's look how we make it simpler. Right? So when a person was holding the money, some other country wants to exchange the South African rand. They demand the South African rand. So someone from the other country wants to buy a rand. They demand it, and they supply the country's money. When people who are holding South African rand want to exchange them for their money of some other country, they supply the South African rand and demand for the country's money. So basically, when you supply your rand, that rand is exchanged to a dollar. So it's like a two-way process happening. Right? Now, the demand in the foreign exchange markets. People buy South African rand in the foreign exchange market so they can. So, why do people in other countries want to buy our rand? It's because to buy South African exports. Now, remember, when you want to buy a good from another country that uses a different exchange rate, you have to buy it in their currency. So I can't go to America and use my rands over there. No, I have to buy the currency. Similarly, when people want to demand the rand, the reason is because they want to buy exports, right? Then now they buy South African assets. So sometimes there's businesses, land they buy over here, keep money holding in South African bank account. So they basically put money in South African bank account because sometimes South African bank's account is cheaper. That's how actually money laundering works sometimes, right? They go to other countries, put different monies in different banks, and so on. So the next thing we want to know is the quantity demanded depends on the many factors, but the main one are. So quantity demanded depends on factors, right? So why do people want to demand our rands? Now, whenever you think of demanding our rands, think of people in other countries. The exchange rate, world demand for South African exports, interest rates, and expected future exchange rate. But we're going to explain it now. So okay, so what is the export effect, right? Okay, so firstly, the higher the exchange rate, the smaller the quantity of South African rand demanded in the foreign exchange market. So when the exchange rate is very, very high, right, it's basically very, very bad. Because think about it, if the dollar exchange rate right now is like 19 rand and then tomorrow it changes to like 25 rand or 30 rand, that's bad, right? So whenever the higher the exchange rate, the smaller the quantity of South African rand demanded in the foreign exchange market. So if let's say the rand is trading at 8, let's say 8 rand, right? And then now this rand goes up to 15 rand. People will not demand this rand because it's very very expensive, right? So that's what they're saying basically. Now, what is the export effect? It basically means that when you export products, so you take products from your country and export it, people buy from the other countries, right? The quantity of South African rand demanded in the foreign exchange market, um, the larger quantity, so basically it increases, right? Because the other countries, when they buy the export, they need to get rand first to buy it, so that is why it increases demand in the exchange market, right? If the exchange rate falls, the quantity of South African rand demand in the foreign exchange market increases. Now, I might be thinking how it's not making sense, huh? So, if the exchange rate falls, that means the rand becomes cheaper. So, because the rand becomes cheaper, more people demand it in foreign exchange market. You see what I'm saying? Now, expected profit effect. So, let's say if the rand now is very, very low, but you expect it to shoot up next week and go very, very high. You're going to buy that rand now, for example, if it's 10 rand, and then hold it, and then when it's trading at 15 rand, you sell it, you make 5 rand profit. But obviously, it's not in rands, it's in dollars, because we're looking at other countries buying the rand. Demand curve for South African rand. So, this is the demand curve for South African rand. Demand, as told you, think of other countries. So when the exchange rate go down, rate for the other countries, that means it's good, right? Because the exchange rate, for example, if I'm in America and the exchange rate for the rand goes down, it means I'm no more paying $2 for 1 rand. I'm paying $1 for 1 rand. So when the exchange rate goes down, you will want more in quantity of that, right? Now supply. Now supply. Think of us in South Africa, right? The quantity of South African rand supplied in the foreign exchange market. Okay. So when you want to, let's say, import something, so you want to buy something from China, you need to go to the foreign exchange market and get, in China, what they use, is it yen or something? I'm not sure. But basically, you need that currency. So you're going to put your rands in the market. A person from China is going to buy the rands in the market and give you whatever currency their country is, right? The law of supply. The higher the exchange rate, the greater the quantity of South African rand supplied in the foreign exchange market. The higher the exchange rate, the greater quantity of South African rand expanded by the market. Yeah, if the rand is very very strong, right, you will have a greater quantity of South African rand supplied in that market, right? So think about this logically, right? Let's say if the rand is going at 10 rand now versus if the rand is going at 12 rand and you only had 100 rand in your pocket, more rands you can get if the rand is cheaper, right? So it's the same concept, right? The higher the exchange rate, the greater the quantity of South African rand supplied. Now, what is the import effect? The larger the value of South African imports, the larger the quantity of South African rand supplied. So when you want to import something, you need to buy the other person's currency, so you need to put the rand in the market, and then people from other countries will buy. So you're supplying the market with the rand. Expected profit. So let's say in other countries, right? In other countries, let's say a dollar. If a dollar is very very weak, you buy it now, and then you sell it 10 years time when the dollar is more expensive. You make a profit, right? Oh wait. The stronger the exchange rate from Sunday. Over here they're saying that let's say the rand, right? The stronger the exchange rate today, the greater the expected profit from selling the South African rand, the greater the quantity of South African rand supply. So let's say the rand now is very very strong presently. You will sell it now instead of instead of couple days time, because couple days time is going to go down. So that's basically what they're saying. Now the supply curve for South African rand, I told you, it's like our country. So when the exchange rate goes up, right, people are going to pay more for our rand. So we're going to supply it at a very very high price. That's why our quantity is going up as we exchange rate is going up. Market equilibrium is obviously where the demand equals supply. So this is where everyone wants it. They're very very happy over here. If you're trading over here, your demand is higher than supply. This means people want more rands, but you only got certain rands. Over here, people like you in South Africa are supplying 1,000,000 rands, but people only want to buy 500,000 rands. So you got a over here will be a surplus, yeah. Over here will be a shortage. Changes in demand for the African rands, right? So So world demand for South African exports. So changes for demand. So the demand curve will actually change if people in South Africa want exports or basically anything that doesn't affect exchange rates, because this is exchange rate, it moves along the curve. So anything besides exchange rate literally will shift it, right? South African interest rate. So South Africa has a higher interest rate than other countries. People will invest their money over here, therefore the rand increases because they need to buy our country's rand for to invest it over here. Differential interest, it's our interest minus their interest, their rate, right? Expected future exchange rate. So if our exchange rate is going to get very, very good, people rather buy it now before it gets good. So when it gets good, they can sell it. So this pause this video and memorize this, right? Or not memorize, just understand this. Changes in supply for South African rand. So the supply. So if we now the country supply, we need more imports, we need to buy more products, it increases the supply. South Africa's interest rate for foreign investments. So if foreign investment is better, we're going to invest in other countries. Expected future exchange rate. So let's say foreign expected future exchange rate decrease the profits of the community holding South African rand. So if the price of South African rand is going down, you rather supply the rand now while you can get more money than rather for example, if you will, let's say for a product, if you're going to sell now, you get 10 rand, but tomorrow it's going to go to 8 rand. You rather sell it now because you're going to get 10 rand. So that is why a rand over here in this market is like a toy or a product, you see. So supply can decrease, supply can increase. Exchanges in exchange rate. So exchange rate, right, the prices, so many times, we get with the what is called news. Rand is trading at this amount, rand is trading this amount. Every minute, okay, the rand fluctuates. Just now you'll see a dollar is 19 rand 36. 1 hour's time is 19 rand and 26, right? Just now Donald Trump's fall from the plane and lands in Timbuktu, the rand goes to 1,000,000 rand. So you see, so it literally changes because of events that happen in the world and stuff, right? So exchange rate, it fluctuates, right? Now, if the demand of South African rand decreases, the supply does not change, the rate weakens. So this can all be seen in your in your two demand and supply curves, right? So like if you change the example demand and just increase demand while do not touch the supply, you'll see what's increasing and what's like not decreasing, right? So for example, let's say the demand changes from here to here. Obviously now you'll know that exchange rate is increasing, and then over here is also increasing. So literally, if you have that question in the exam, just draw it and see what's happening. There's no reason for you to memorize. Okay, so this whole thing basically arbitrage. So let's say if I get, for example, a product here in South Africa for 5 rand, and then I go to overseas and sell that product for 20 rand, because overseas this product is very expensive. That's arbitrage. So the same thing happens with foreign exchange. If you buy the rand that is very, very cheap over here and you supply it in another market that is very, very expensive, you can do that, right? Arbitrage. Interest rate parity, purchasing power parity, arbitrage activities bring about. Okay, so basically you can basically invest money in other countries. So if you get an interest rate, like example 5%, or basically interest rate parity, it's basically, okay, I know how to explain it, to be honest with you. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm not gonna explain something that's wrong, yeah. But I think research it, yeah, because I'm not too sure now about this arbitrage, right? Wait, arbitrage also removes a profit from borrowing in one currency and lending to another country and selling them to another. Yeah, I'm not gonna say something that's wrong over here. So let's see what's the real exchange rate. Now, the real exchange rate. Now, what's the difference between real exchange and normal exchange? Normal exchange rate is nominal, right? Anything normal is nominal. The real exchange rate. So, for example, if bread is 10 rand here in South Africa and bread in United States is, like, say, 12 rand, If their exchange rate is 20 rand, our exchange rate is 20 rand. Technically, it's not the same because the price for bread in two countries are not the same. So the real exchange rate basically, it shows you like the actual exchange rate by comparing two products together, right? Or all products, the price level basically. Now in the short run, just know that everything is just like moving, right? So normal exchange rate changes, the real exchange changes, but over here in the long run it doesn't. So anytime in economics, short runs, a lot of things happen, right? Long run is more smooth sailing. Flexible exchange rate. Now, okay, so exchange rate, the price for like a rand to a dollar, sometimes it changes. Flexible exchange rate. This is done with demand and supply, right? Fixed exchange rate, the country might say the exchange rate for a dollar to a rand is 20 rand and this will be for 5 years. That's fixed. Crawling peg exchange rate, this is done by governments. The government comes in and votes that it must be this amount, that amount. That's crawling peg, right? Balance of payments. Okay, now what is a current account? Now I'm just going to go in the next step that explains it better over here. The current account, right, it's the net exports. How you calculate it? It's your exports minus imports. Net interest income, it's your interest income minus interest expense. Net transfers is the transfer you have minus the transfers you paid to other countries. Net transfers is like donations and all from other countries. Interest income, you invest and get interest in other countries. Net exports, yeah. Capital transfer accounts, so like assets, right? If you acquire assets in other countries and your country and so on, you put it under that account. Financial account, when you invest in other countries, investments, change net gold, other foreign reserves. You keep a record of all your gold, your prices, the valuation, all that, right? A net borrower is someone who borrows more. A lender is someone who lends more, then borrow. So you see, the net borrower, the person borrows more. Debt nation, a country that basically has debt more than what it gives people, right? Has lent people. Creditor is a country that gives countries more money than what it like asks for or goes in debt for. We discussed that. So your net exports is your X minus M, exports minus imports. The government sector balance is T minus J. So your taxes minus the government expenditure, saving minus investment is private sector balance. Hey, to be honest, I really do not know this so much, huh? But like, I don't think it's come out. Just know like what it looks like, this formula, because it can be multiple choice. Net exports, yeah. Okay, so which of the following applies to exchange rate? The answer, the exchange rate is a price. That is true. The exchange rate, the country depends on which market you use. That's correct. There's different websites you can buy exchange rates from. It's not determined. It is determined by supply and demand. So the answer is D. Let's see next. Okay, why is not going next? Okay, the higher the exchange rate, the lower the value of South African imports. This is just yapping. The greater the volume of South Africa's imports, the greater the quantity of the rand supplied. This is called the, what you're doing over here? Imports, so import effects. So the more you import, the more you're supplying the foreign exchange with your rand. A country's balance of payments accounts records. A country's balance of payments. The balance of payments I told you is all those accounts, current account, that all the assets account, all the accounts. Don't forget this. It's international trading, borrowing, and lending. Right? Which of the following about next export is correct? So you might be attempting because I showed you this formula, but this formula, it's not it, right? Net export at time of the government private saving. It's export government imports. So the best one, like the best answer, right? You always pick the best one. Net export is exports of goods and services minus imports of goods and services. I mean, that's like the best, simplest answer possible. In economics, you just pick the best one, right? So although some may seem correct, you pick the best one. And that's it for part 2.